Thank you to MPB for sponsoring this video.
In recent weeks, I've set myself the intention of going right back to basics with my photography. So this week, I decided to let go of all preconceived ideas, all expectations and all thoughts on what makes a good photograph, and simply just head out with a beginner's mind, with some curiosity. Go back to that child that I was when I began photography and just photograph whatever catches my eye. You see, when we've been doing photography for many years, we build up all of these preconceived ideas of what makes a good photograph, what settings we should be using, what compositions we should be using, what gear we should be using. And it's almost like I feel like we begin to restrict ourselves. And I've noticed this in some respects in some of my imagery and some of my work. It's like I head out and it's almost like I'm looking for things that I've been told make good images. And I've definitely been breaking out of this cycle over the past year or so, but one thing I wanted to do was just let go of everything. Go way back to that beginner's mind. And remember, before I knew anything about the technicalities of photography, I literally used to go out and just enjoy the experience of walking around in nature, observe what was happening, and point my camera at whatever caught my eye without even considering anything else. And this process of completely stepping back and just going back to that beginner's mind of pointing my camera at whatever catches my eye, I found the process so beautiful. It's opened me up to images that I never thought I would photograph, such as geometric shapes and fences, shadows casting on pavements, chimney stacks, planes flying through the sky. And there was one afternoon back in December when I headed out around sunset and when the light was getting dim and dark, and I created a collection of images that I've called the ghosts of winter. And later in this video, I'm going to share them with you. But for now, it's a beautiful frosty day today. I'm going to go out and see what I can discover and really try and hone into this beginner's mindset and just completely enjoy the process without any expectations, without any preconceived ideas. Just enjoy it and see what I can create. I've been reflecting a lot on the world of photography in recent months, and I've begun to wonder whether we've lost touch with the true meaning of what it means to be a photographer. As technology has advanced, gear, the competition and the comparison has taken over. But if we get back to the true essence of what photography means, which is painting with light, it's about using a camera, in whatever form that takes, to connect with the world and express ourselves creatively. I feel having a camera gives us a chance to also explore ourselves. It's a tool we can use to try and understand the world and what it means to be human. I feel like reconnecting with the beginner's mindset is very similar to reconnecting with our inner child. And if you listen to the Photographic Connections podcast, you'll know that this is a topic that comes up time and time again between myself and the guests that come on. When we connect with that inner child, we naturally become curious of the world around us, and everything is an exciting opportunity. And when we apply that to photography, it's like we begin to see and appreciate and become aware of all of the beauty and interesting things that are happening around us. And we can get into this beautiful flow state of photographing whatever catches our eye. And one photographer who very much adopts this style into his imagery is Alistair Benn, and he's somebody that I spoke to very recently for the podcast. And he said when he got into photography, he would literally just point his camera at anything that he thought was cool and take a photograph of it. And then for many years he lost that and he started just taking images that other people were taking and had this preconceived ideas of what made a good landscape image and was almost copying other photographers to get the same results. In his imagery now, he's gone back to that beginner's mindset in many respects. He's began simply photographing things that he thinks is cool. And I realised that, I guess almost naturally, I've been doing this myself in my own photographic work and beginning to do it again over the last year or so. And it is so liberating because you begin to get rid of all of those preconceived ideas. It's why I do very little traditional landscape photography now, because I want to photograph things that really speak to me rather than necessarily copying what other people are doing or photographing the way that we're told to photograph. Because really, if we really think about it, is there actually a correct way to photograph? I personally don't think there is, because one thing I've learnt in the 14 years that I've been doing photography is that there is much more than one way to get the same results. And it's about finding the ways that work for you, but also just giving yourself that freedom to photograph in whatever way you want to. If that is traditionally, fantastic. But if that's going off a little bit and doing something more creative, then that's also exciting. What fuels your inner child? What makes you curious and excited? Hone into that more, and your photography experience will definitely become more exciting and rewarding as a result. I guess it comes down to what we value as individuals. I've been dipping into a book about finding inner peace in recent weeks, which is the topic the Photographic Connections community members are exploring through their photography this month. There's a chapter in the book about values, speaking about how many of us spend our lives living under other people's values. We often don't realise it, but we take on other people's views and opinions, adopting them as our own, when really they are not what we truly value within. While diving into this concept for myself, I've come to see that I truly value the freedom to create, which I'll speak about more near the end of the video. Wow. The mist has just started rolling in. They said we were going to get mist today, but so often the forecast is wrong, so I wasn't getting my hopes up. But wow, I don't know if this is going to make for more exciting opportunities or if it's going to shroud my view of what's around me. But just seeing that change in the weather conditions is filling me with excitement. That inner child is coming out. Oh, amazing. Now, before I share the images I created with you, I thought it would be interesting to invite you to consider what you value as a photographer as I introduce a sponsor of today's video, MPB. Now, if you're really technically minded, you might value gear, as you love to learn how each camera and lens operates in order to create your images. But maybe, as I ask you this question, you're looking over at that shelf of photography gear you own and realising that you don't use half of it, and in fact, you value simplicity. Or maybe you're looking down at the camera that you currently own and realising that it no longer reflects you as a photographer. No matter what applies to you, MPB may be of interest to you, as they're an online platform where you can buy, sell and trade in used camera gear. I've used them myself, as have many of my clients, and we've all said how simple and easy it is to use. So if you'd like to try out MPB's online platform for yourself, you can find a link in the description box below. So, sticking with the theme of the beginner's mindset, as this mist rolls in, what is interesting me? What am I finding cool? I'm just going to point my camera at whatever I feel like pointing my camera at. Not thinking about anything. I'm not even thinking about settings. I will look at the back of my camera after I take an image and see if I'm happy with it or not. But genuinely, this is one of the processes I was doing throughout December when I was doing this, was I wasn't even considering the settings. If I found the image was blurry, I didn't want it blurry, I would just play around with things without even looking about what number it went to, just knowing, okay, I need a faster shutter speed, okay, I want more light in. And usually it was ISO that I was changing because it's the quickest and easiest thing to change. It just allows you to respond quicker and not get so bogged down on, this is the settings that I need. Because like I said there in the Alistair Bennett example and in what I'm doing with my work is, you know, I realise that there are so many more than one way to get an image. And especially now with the way that modern cameras are built, they can withstand so much more handheld and you can push your settings to much higher limits than you ever used to be able to. And it's exciting. You can be more spontaneous. Oh, look at this. Wow. So this letting go of preconceived ideas and letting go of the settings that we're told make good images and all these kind of things, I think it can be quite difficult for some people to allow themselves to do that. You know, we get so stuck in our minds sometimes about the right or wrong way to do things that when it comes to anything artistic and creative, giving ourselves permission to break the rules and to just photograph whatever we want to photograph in whatever way we want to, and just experiment, play with your settings. It's the best way to learn. It's how children learn, and it's something that we almost, I feel, disconnect ourselves from a lot when we become adults. So give yourself that permission to experiment and to just see what happens. It's such a liberating experience. So before I end for today, I said I was going to share with you a collection of images that I created doing exactly what I've spoken about in this video, called The Ghosts of Winter. All I did was walk around my hometown with my camera around my neck, my 24 to 200mm lens, giving me a variety of focal ranges. I didn't really think about settings. Some of these images are out of focus, some of them are long exposures handheld with motion blur, but I love every single one of them. And the way I created them was simply by breaking the rules, experimenting, and just having that sense of curiosity. What will doing this do? What will it create? How will the images turn out? And every single image you're about to see, I absolutely love. So next time you get the urge to go out with your camera, why not leave most of your gear at home? Go out with a really simple setup and just respond to whatever you see in whatever way you want to. Reconnect with that beginner's mindset, experiment, and see what happens. You might be pleasantly surprised. So until next time, enjoy the ghosts of winter. It's really interesting how different lights and moods really affect how we feel. Now I'm in the woods and the sun has just set and it is so ominous. You know, the trees are all bare, they're all standing tall. There's a real eerie feeling here today, and it feels like the trees are all alive, and it's really spooky. And I'm looking out over the old buildings and everything that's now visible without the leaves, and I'm feeling a bit like vulnerable in many respects, not because of people and the fact I'm in the woods, it's just how the woods is making me feel right now. And it's really playing into the images I'm creating as well, just this sense of almost fear. Like if you look up there, it's just like the trees are just surrounding me, and I'm outnumbered massively, and there's just a very different feel in these woods in the winter months. A very different feel. As I let go of all expectations and all preconceived ideas of what makes a good photograph, these images were allowed to be created. I began to see aspects of nature that I wouldn't normally. To explore emotions and feelings that were coming to me, and begin to look deeper into my relationship with the world. It allowed me to connect with what I value most, the freedom to create, the freedom to see the world anew each day, to experience joy and a sense of wonder without constraint. This sense of wonder was then relived as I looked back at the images, unknown of what I would find, but beginning to see faces, to see creatures. When we adopt a beginner's mindset, we set ourselves free. Life becomes a journey of discovery each and every day. There's new things to see, new things to experience, new things to learn, and countless new photographs to create. Adopting a beginner's mindset and allowing ourselves to explore offers us the chance to never fall out of love with our passions. And in that process, we will grow and evolve internally too, developing a new relationship with ourselves and the world that we inhabit. While many of these images may not be conventional, they all speak to me so deeply. I love each and every one of them, and I had such a ball creating them. And because of that, I honestly don't care what anybody thinks of them, because they mean something to me, the photographer. So when you're out creating images, do what feels best to you. To photograph what you want to photograph in whatever way you want to photograph it. And by adopting a beginner's mindset, you allow yourself to connect with that inner child, and the experience is so incredibly beautiful.